to Parliament, and when it came to Parliament, there was actually war. You remember when the first time taxes on mobile phones were introduced, on airtime were introduced, then there was the 16% VAT. Even the housing levy was introduced that time. And an increase on NHIF and NSSF, they came in that bill. Now, Parliament at that time stood firm and said no. But Uhuru Kenyatta said, no, it has to pass. So what happened? This thing, members of Parliament then, because we were powerful, you know, they have become a weak opposition. We were powerful. We brought it down. We pushed, but Duale, I remember.
That time it was part of us.
I remember Duale, you remember the time when people say the Honorable Duale had pushed people to the toilets, they had locked other people out, you know.
They doled out 10,000.
Yes, he, you know, and this thing, you know, somehow, I think we suppressed it. Then he brought something called, Uhuru Kenyatta brought something called a memorandum, the presidential memorandum to Parliament. And that is where now there was an opportunity to discuss. And when we discussed and agreed, that's when we brought it to 8%. And that is the chronology of it. So today, if anybody says, you know, VAT is 16% fuel, there is a history to it, and that is the history they do. You cannot support that 16% VAT in the previous regime, and when it is introduced now, you want to say the finance bill is bad. You cannot support the housing levy then, because housing levy was introduced then. It is it's not a new thing. It's not a William Ruto thing. They supported it. And these guys looked at Uhuru Kenyatta as a saint for like introducing those things. Introducing those things. Now, somehow Parliament then said no, let us, I think it was suspended. I know it was made voluntary. It was made voluntary. You know, to stand from whatever to voluntary. Those who want to contribute can contribute. NSSF and NHIF deductions. If it was not for one person called Atwoli, remember when Atwoli fought that thing so hard, and actually I remember I was called to Atwoli's office also, you know, to be convinced, and actually I was one of the people who moved an amendment to remove that thing. These are things that were packaged then and were supported by the same people today that are saying we cannot support. You know, political dishonesty in this country has gone into a large sea that cannot be really explained. When my friends in Parliament say, no, William Ruto needs to bring down the finance bill, he needs this finance, I ask them, using which route? Using which route? The finance bill was passed by Parliament.
Correct.
When Parliament passes a bill, even if the President refuses to assent it, in 14 days it becomes enforced. You know? These guys, instead of going to the streets, they should come back to Parliament, say that this finance bill is not the best thing for this country.
Yes.
We are introducing an amendment to that finance bill, and they need to convince us.
But what we've heard from the minority leader that you know, some shenanigans.
No.
Means was used to actually pass this
shenanigans.
There was bribery. No, from his own mouth. That some of the legislators were bribed to actually pass this.
It is untrue. And I want it to be on record. People voted.
But it's coming from your legislator.
I want to ask you a question.
From your legislator.
I just want to ask a question. Esther Passaris is a very honorable member. Okay, Esther Passaris, honorable person who will not be swayed by 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000. She voted.
Yes.
Adan Kainan voted.
Yes.
You know, Farah Mohammed voted. These are not people you will bribe. These are people who voted with their conscience on top. You know, and this thing of people saying, you know, people were bribed. No, that is neither here nor there. People were convinced by that finance bill. You cannot pass a budget and say we are going to increase CDF by 5%. We are going to do this. And they say, yes, that is what we want. And budget passes. Okay. And when the budget passes, we say we want to finance that budget.
Thank you.
How do we finance that budget? We will finance it through a finance act.
Okay,
you come and tell me, don't pass the finance act.
All right, can I just, allow me to butt in just a little bit. So what really happens when we have the majority whip who is making this pronouncement? And this is like taking like a party position. Because now, since he's at the apex like you are.
Yes.
who questions such a statement that is made, because we take it seriously like it's a party's position. And if it be a party position, this is what really happened also in Parliament.
I want to state it here.
Was there any bribery?
Not in a political rally and not anywhere at national television. UDA, Kenya Kwanza, never bribes MPs for anything to pass in Parliament. Every member of Parliament has a conscience. Every member of Parliament is convinced and can vote the way his conscience says he should vote.
Right.
But I want to put it on record. UDA, Kenya Kwanza, never bribed anybody to pass the finance bill. We never did that.
All right. So just a moment. Yes. Was there any attempt to try and bribe the citizens of Kisii from the same legislators for them to not really demonstrate?
What happens in Kisii politics and whatever.
Are you privy to this? Some of these clips that were doing rounds there, actually, on the mainstream media.
And Homa Bay.
Just a moment.
You see,